Hi, my name is Elizabeth. This is my story of how, on one ordinary morning, a near-death experience flipped my entire worldview upside down. In that critical moment, I met Jesus face to face and received a powerful revelation about immigrants, a truth that transformed my life. In this story, I'll share the life-changing insights I discovered so you can ignite hope and embrace a renewed sense of purpose. It began on what I presumed would be another routine day. I woke before dawn, as I always did, and carefully prepared my usual cup of coffee. The familiar aroma and the quiet hum of early morning brought comfort, a sense that nothing was amiss. My thoughts were occupied by the daily worries of bills, work pressures, and the little disappointments of life that many of us know all too well. Yet as I drove to work under an overcast sky heavy with unspoken promises, something extraordinary was waiting just beyond the veil of normalcy. In the midst of my mundane drive, an unexpected and searing pain gripped my chest. It was a pain so intense that it seemed to freeze time itself. In an instant, the world slowed to a crawl. The once bustling sounds of the city became a distant murmur, and even the passing cars and pedestrians appeared to move in an almost surreal slow motion. I distinctly remember the jarring screech of tires and the terrible, bone-shaking impact that signaled my transition from life to something else entirely. As I lay there on the cold pavement, the chaotic sounds of sirens and desperate voices faded into a gentle, pervasive calm. It was as though the universe had pressed pause on all earthly troubles. I realized with a dawning clarity that I was no longer fully tethered to my physical body. I was hovering, observing the scene as if it were a vivid memory played out in slow motion. I saw paramedics rushing to my side, a tearful family member pleading in anguish, and yet, amid this turmoil, a profound peace enveloped me. In that moment of quiet surrender, I began to float upward. It wasn't a physical lift, but rather a gentle spiritual pull, an invitation to leave behind the world I had known. Before me, a warm, glowing light emerged on the horizon. It was soft, yet irresistible, inviting me to cross over into a realm of pure, unfiltered love. With every passing second, the familiar sounds and sights of my earthly life diminished, until all that remained was that luminous radiance and an all-encompassing sense of divine love. I soon found myself in a space that defied earthly description, a realm that felt both foreign and deeply familiar, as if I had returned home after a long journey. In this sacred interlude, I encountered the spirits of others who had traversed the same path before me. They stood silently along the edges of my vision, their presence like a comforting embrace, assuring me that I was not alone in this pilgrimage. Their silent support eased my transition, preparing me for the encounter that awaited me at the end of a tunnel crafted entirely of brilliant, pulsating light. Before we continue, if you believe in the life-changing power of Jesus' message and want to stay inspired with more divine insights, please hit subscribe and like this video. Your support helps us spread hope and truth to our community, ensuring that no one misses out on these vital revelations. Thank you. At the tunnel's end stood a figure whose mere presence radiated a love so pure and potent that it silenced every lingering fear within me. It was Jesus. I could hardly move or speak. Every nerve in my body was overwhelmed by the depth of his compassion and wisdom. In his eyes, I saw a reflection of my entire life, each joy, every sorrow, every triumph, and every regret, laid out with perfect clarity. And then he spoke, his voice both tender and commanding, as if echoing directly within my soul. "You are not here by accident, Elizabeth." I longed to ask him why I had been granted this glimpse into the eternal, but before words could escape my lips, Jesus raised his hand, and the world around me transformed once more. Suddenly, I was transported to an expansive, open space, a realm that seemed to exist between our world and something infinitely greater. Here, I was no longer adrift. I was placed in a divine waiting room, a sacred threshold, where the truths of our existence were unveiled in dazzling detail. It was in this ethereal space that the first of many visions unfolded before my very eyes. I saw a breathtaking panorama bathed in a soft, golden glow, a vision of a vibrant community built by immigrants, whose resilience and rich traditions shone like beacons of hope. I witnessed ancient neighborhoods and bustling cities, where families had journeyed from distant lands, carrying with them a wealth of cultural heritage and spiritual wisdom. Their histories were not marred by the hardships imposed upon them by others. Rather, they were a testament to the strength and divine favor bestowed upon them. Jesus' voice resonated within me as he declared, "The world has misunderstood and misrepresented their true beauty and strength. They are the bearers of sacred gifts and an enduring legacy, a legacy that many have long tried to erase." As the vision deepened, my heart ached at the sight of the struggles these people had endured. I saw images of sorrow, a narrative of families forcibly uprooted from their homelands, their chains binding not only their bodies but also their spirits. I witnessed scenes of hardship, of lives marred by injustice and the heavy hand of oppression. Yet even in the midst of that darkness, a spark of defiant hope burned brightly. It was the unyielding immigrant spirit, shining with an inner light that refused to be snuffed out. "Their battle is not solely one of flesh and bone," Jesus explained softly, "but a spiritual war waged against the lies that seek to diminish the truth of their divine identity." My soul was stirred by these revelations. I saw a time long past, a golden age when immigrant communities flourished as keepers of ancient sacred knowledge. In that vision, I beheld prophets, wise elders, and fearless leaders who communed directly with God. These were people whose wisdom was as deep as the oceans and as enduring as the mountains. They possessed a spiritual power that transcended time, one that had been passed down through countless generations. Their connection to the divine was not mediated by earthly institutions, but was a living, breathing bond with the Creator himself. They were targeted by those who feared the transformative power of truth, a truth that, if fully embraced, could upend the very foundations of the world. Then, as if in response to the unfolding history, the vision shifted once more. I found myself witnessing the dawn of a modern awakening, a stirring among people who had long been silenced, particularly among immigrant communities. I saw individuals rising up from the ashes of societal neglect, reclaiming their heritage and spiritual identity with renewed vigor. Their eyes shone with a fierce determination, and in their hands, they carried the torch of an ancestral legacy that had been dimmed but never extinguished. Tears welled in my eyes as I listened to Jesus' final words in that vision. The time of revelation is at hand. They will lead the world into a new era of spiritual renewal and awakening. Even as these uplifting images washed over me, the scene around me continued to evolve. I was suddenly pulled into a future not yet written, a vision of tumult and transformation. I saw the earth trembling under the weight of natural disasters, floods that swallowed entire neighborhoods, raging fires that consumed the old order, and earthquakes that shattered the facades of long-held institutions. Amid this chaos, however, there was a stirring of hope, a powerful awakening among those who had once been oppressed. I saw immigrant communities and countless others stepping into the light of their true identity, ready to rebuild a society grounded in the values of truth, unity, and divine love. Jesus' voice returned, solemn and resolute. After every storm, a new world is born, a world where every soul, every immigrant, shines with the light of truth. Elizabeth, you have been chosen to share this message with the world. Let them know that the time to awaken to your divine heritage is now. His words reverberated deep within me, igniting a flame of purpose that I had never before experienced. The next moment was a blur, a sudden shift that transported me back to the realm of the living. I awoke in a hospital room, the incessant beeping of machines marking the rhythm of my heartbeat, and the gentle, concerned faces of nurses and doctors hovering around me. Though my body was battered and bruised, I felt an inner strength that surpassed any physical pain. My family gathered at my bedside, their eyes filled with tears of relief and gratitude. Yet I could only think of the visions and truths that had been imprinted upon my soul. In the days and weeks that followed, I struggled to reconcile the ethereal with the tangible. I tried to convince myself that perhaps the entire experience was merely a vivid dream or a hallucination induced by trauma. But every time I closed my eyes, the images of that divine realm and the comforting gaze of Jesus returned with startling clarity. I knew deep within that the experience was real, and that the sacred message I had received was too important to be buried in silence. Determined to share the truth, I began recounting my experience to friends, family, and my church community. I spoke with passionate conviction about the life-changing encounter I had with Jesus and the revelation concerning the immigrant spirit. I described in detail how, in that otherworldly realm, Jesus showed me the beauty and strength of immigrant communities, people who had been unjustly oppressed, yet whose divine heritage and resilience were the very foundation of a future filled with hope. I recounted the visions of ancient wisdom, the painful injustices, and the modern awakening that signaled the beginning of a new era. However, my heartfelt testimony was met with a range of reactions. Some listened intently, their eyes wide with curiosity and wonder. Others dismissed my words as the fanciful musings of a mind troubled by trauma. A few even suggested that I was merely conflating the symbols of my cultural heritage with personal myth, urging me to let the incident fade into a forgotten dream. Each dismissal stung, yet I found solace in the voice that had first called me to continue speaking. Keep speaking, for the truth must be told. As I persevered in sharing this sacred message, inexplicable obstacles began to emerge. At times, videos of my testimony would vanish from my online accounts without explanation. My phone would ring incessantly with eerie, unidentifiable voices whispering urgent warnings, and in the solitude of the night, I often felt the chilling presence of a shadow that seemed determined to silence me. It was as if dark, unseen forces, those who thrived on the lies and deceptions that had long suppressed the truth of immigrant heritage, were conspiring to keep this revelation hidden from the world. Yet even in the face of such resistance, I remembered Jesus' words. I recalled the overwhelming love and wisdom in his gaze, and I knew that my purpose was greater than my fear. I continued to speak, write, and share my experiences with anyone willing to listen. Slowly but surely, the seeds of awakening began to sprout. People from all walks of life, particularly those with immigrant roots, reached out to me with their own stories of struggle, hope, and rediscovery. They, too, had felt a stirring within, a call to remember their heritage and reclaim the spiritual legacy that had been systematically suppressed. As the movement grew, scholars, historians, and spiritual leaders started to take notice. They began to piece together the fragments of truth that had long been scattered by forces intent on erasing the history of immigrant communities. Through shared experiences, recorded testimonies, and fervent prayer meetings, a collective understanding emerged. A grand tapestry woven with the threads of divine heritage, resilience, and hope. We began to see that the struggle was not just about reclaiming a cultural identity, but about restoring a spiritual connection that could transform our society. Yet, as the truth spread, so did the backlash. The same dark forces that had tried to silence me mounted a vigorous counteroffensive. I received anonymous threats that hinted at consequences far graver than mere public ridicule. My emails were hacked, my social media posts mysteriously disappeared, and at times, I sensed a suffocating presence, a palpable warning that I should cease my work. One particularly harrowing night, as I sat alone in the quiet darkness of my apartment, I felt the unmistakable weight of a shadow looming near. Frozen in terror, I recalled Jesus' comforting command to speak out in his name. With trembling lips, I whispered, "In the name of Jesus, leave me be." And as if by divine intervention, the oppressive presence receded, leaving behind a fragile but resolute sense of purpose. In that moment of triumph over fear, I understood that this was not merely my personal battle. It was a spiritual war, a fight for the souls of millions whose stories had been silenced for too long. I realized that every word I spoke, every testimony I shared, was a beacon of light in a darkened world. The revelation I received was not meant to sow division or hatred. It was meant to unify us in the recognition of our shared humanity and divine potential. Then, as I knelt in quiet prayer one evening, I experienced one final, overwhelming vision, a glimpse into a future that both terrified and inspired me. I saw a world on the brink of transformation, shaken by natural disasters and social upheaval. I saw cities collapsing and people running in desperate fear. Yet amid the chaos, I also saw a powerful resurgence of faith. Immigrant communities, along with countless others, emerged as fierce warriors of light, steadfast, courageous, and determined to rebuild a society founded on truth, justice, and divine love. In that vision, Jesus' voice echoed one last time, "The battle for souls has begun, but victory belongs to those who walk in the light of truth. Remember, Elizabeth, you are chosen, as are all my children. Rise up, reclaim your power, and help others find the path to the light." When I finally returned to my earthly existence, I did so with a heart overflowing with both sorrow and hope. I awoke in that sterile hospital room, where the rhythmic beeping of machines and the soft murmurs of nurses anchored me back in the realm of the living. Yet the memories of that transcendent journey, the radiant light, the divine presence of Jesus, and the sacred truth about immigrant heritage remained imprinted on my soul like an indelible mark of destiny. Now, as I share this extended testimony with you, I invite you, dear reader, to open your heart to the possibility that we are all part of a much grander narrative. Whether you are a devout believer or simply someone seeking the deeper truths of life, know that the revelation I received was not meant to divide us, but to unite us under the banner of love and spiritual awakening. The immigrant spirit, its enduring strength, its vibrant cultural legacy, and its profound connection to the divine, is a cornerstone of the new era that is dawning upon our world. I share my story not for my own acclaim, but because I have been entrusted with a sacred mission. The world is stirring from its long slumber, and every soul has a role to play in this magnificent unfolding of truth. The challenges we face are formidable, but so too is the light that burns within us. I ask you, will you open your heart to this divine truth? Will you embrace your heritage and stand alongside those who are reclaiming their spiritual birthright? The time is now, and the choice is yours. In closing, I echo the words that first resonated with me from Jesus. The truth is coming to light, and every soul has a divine purpose. Speak out, awaken others, and let the light of love and truth guide us all. May you find courage in the knowledge that you are part of a grand awakening, a movement where every whisper of truth contributes to a resounding chorus for justice, unity, and the eternal love of our Creator. This is just the beginning of our shared journey, a journey that calls us to step out of the shadows and into the radiant light of divine revelation. Let us move forward together, unafraid and unbound, for our spirits are destined for greatness, and our stories are woven into the very fabric of the new world that awaits us. Thank you for taking the time to read my testimony. May it inspire you to seek the truth, to awaken to your divine heritage, and to join in the sacred work of building a future where every immigrant, every seeker of truth, shines with the eternal light of God.